Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and today I'm bringing you the Managing Director and CEO of Argent Minerals. George Karageorge, welcome to Small Caps. Great to see you over in Perth, but with a project here in New South Wales, the very large Kempfield deposit, which is silver, lead, zinc, but also we're going to cover some of the other things. But before we start, George, you came on board as the CEO and Managing Director at the end of last year. What attracted you to this project?
Kerry, thanks very much for today. Look, I jumped in an aeroplane. I was a shareholder of Argent over more than a decade. No. I knew the guys that put it together. Third generation mining family from Western Australia, stockbrokers and accountants, and grandfather that was a miner, great grandfather that was a digger and a miner in the First World War. Came from Europe with nothing, created something. 2 generations later, they owned the Marble Lock gold mine, and that was in the 80s when I graduated as a geologist in the 80s, and it was the peak of one of the biggest gold booms of similar to what we're seeing now. Identically what we're seeing now. History repeats itself, and I got excited. I went over there for nothing. I sponsored myself. I went and looked at all the tenements with all the geos. Jumped in an aeroplane a week later and flew back and said, I'm going to take the job, a job that probably many people wouldn't want. But what I saw that people can't see is the ease and the ability to put, shows in New South Wales into production. I mean, the Lock and Fold Belt is so exciting, but Kempfield should have been put into production probably twice over the last 30 years, and it hasn't.
Why not? Why hasn't it?
There's 2 things in this world, I think, Kerry. People that want to dig a hole and people that don't. So I think the predecessors in 2 different companies didn't have the ability, capability, or didn't want to dig a hole. Well, I think we're in the middle of the beginning of maybe a bull run in terms of base metals as a bottleneck. I think COVID has played into Australia's hands to a degree. The demise of others, it's going to work for us. Look, you go to Kempfield and you're looking at a golf course, and the greens are essentially the open pit shells. The road is like driving on a freeway. It's all weather. There's 2 beautiful farmhouses. You can sit on the veranda of the farmhouse and look at your pit, and you look over your shoulder and you see the mill, and down the road is one of the biggest water supplies in the world, the most purest water you'll ever get. So you've got a commodity price. That's great. You've got a mining precinct and a state that needs exports, yep. Mineral export. You've got Broken Hill. You've got power. You've got the NBN. You've got everything. The only thing that's missing is the palm trees and a beach, or maybe fishing. But you probably throw some trout in the stream and catch some. So the concession to mine was given many years ago by the New South Wales government as being a site of state significance. Right? They've ticked boxes, heritage, enviro, and everything else. So the EIS and everything else that goes along with it was almost completed. It was going to go into production in 2013. $1.5 million was spent on the water supply. The road is the road. It's all weather. It goes to a bitumen road. It's 4 kilometres long. They even roll it every day. I was there and the forestry guys roll it, so you can't even do it to your 4-wheel drive. It's just amazing. So it's idyllic. It's beautiful. I saw that and thought, geez, this is easy. Go and build a mine in Western Australia, and you're 300 k's from port, or you're 500 k's from Kalgoorlie. Yeah, you got problems. New South Wales, the only thing's missing, as I said, is the palm trees and a pina colada.
But George, forgive me, but there's plenty of. Argent Minerals is still an explorer at this stage. There's plenty of explorers out there. What makes you think that you're going to go from where you are currently, an explorer, into building a mine? Because that's a different kettle of fish.
So good question, Kerry. Good question. You've got 100 million ounces of equivalent silver in the ground. That's $1.5 billion worth of metal content in the ground. 590 holes have been drilled at Kempfield up till 2016. We threw another 30 holes just to infill and work out what the hell was going on outside of the pit shell areas. And next year, I want to put 100 holes in the ground. I'm going to drill it in about 8 weeks with a West Australian drill rig that we'll send over, purposely made for that sort of terrain, which is very simple. But if it rains or if it snows, or you have these clever little tracks that don't make a mess, environmentally friendly, magnificent drill rigs. And we're going to drill those last 100 holes. We'll get it up to a 55 million tonne reserve, right? And you don't have projects that have 600 holes in the ground. Now, if you've drilled 600 holes over 30 years, right, you've got to have a mine, or you should have sold the project. Yeah. So I think people miss this opportunity. Sure, you've got to have the right price for silver, lead, and zinc. Sure, we've got 250, 300,000 ounces of gold in the ground, right, that we can get as a credit. We may have 100 million tonnes of barite. At this stage, we've probably got about 40 million tonnes of barite at around 50%. Now, China and America are having a war, and that war will be about where you're going to get drilling mud from. America needs to drill holes in the ground to get oil out of it, but you need drilling mud to drill a hole.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that.
Could it come from Australia? Yeah, well, could the drilling mud come from Australia? I don't know, but people are telling me it ain't going to come from Europe, it ain't going to come from China to America. I mean, Biden has a different paradigm to what Trump's got, but at the same time, COVID will play into the hands of Australian minerals business, because there's so many projects like Kempfield. They're not hard. It's 150 to 175 million bucks with a capex. It's got a 20-year mine life. Right. I mean, this is Chinese heaven when it comes to mining. Yeah, it doesn't get any better. So we're in this time in our lives as potential developers from Explorer. Now, if I can't do it, I'll get a team that can do it, or we'll joint venture with a company that will do it. Right. There's plenty of offtake opportunities, and they're easy. As long as they're prepared to put the money up as an investment opportunity, or as a project owner, let them do it. And that's how we're going to do it.
So George, you're looking at this. I mean, the way you speak is more like it's hard for me to put this in words, but there are plenty of explorers, there are plenty of mining companies out there, but you're speaking as this is a business. Here are the steps I'm going to take, and we are going to go into mining this, but you've got to do it in a sensible way.
Well, Kerry, if you went and bought a motor car and you spent $40,000 on it, yep, and you drove down the road and it wouldn't drive, what would you do?
Take it back to the dealer.
Right. Or go and buy another car and say, I'm going to cut my losses and trade it in. Consequently, Argent has spent $40 million on Kempfield, right? Yep. And now it's time that it's dealt with. And another 100 holes will tell you exactly what you need to do. The network's already done. The plant's already been designed. The recoveries are already in place. The water supply's waiting to put a pump down the hole and put the water into the mill. The waste dumps, the tailings dams have all been signed off by the New South Wales government. It's in a valley. It's got no environmental impact. You can't see it from any roads. We actually bought the farm, so that's how rigorous the people were thinking, the predecessors at Argent were thinking. So you go and buy the farm, right? You're not going to put cows on it. You're going to stick a hole on it. That's what we need to do.
Well, what I like is you're very frank and you're very straightforward. And what I'd like to ask you is what challenges, because there are always challenges in mining. Can you see any challenges, or are you saying, listen, Kerry, we've got the foundation laid, we've got the licenses, we've got the EIS done, the roads there, the electric, like it's all there. What's missing?
Kerry, the secret with bringing a project to the current status that you see at Argent, the current things that you see at Kempfield, right? It's just hard work. That's all that's left to do. It's just hard work. It's going and seeing the government. It's going and getting things costed. It's going and getting a project team, six people, right? To costies. Costies are one of the six. They cost everything. Then you run out to the project guy and says, right, you're in charge of water, you're in charge of electricity, you're in charge of mechanical, you're in charge of structural. A plant today is ore sorting, right? Robots on a conveyor belt, and then it's a mill that separates your metal. What form do you want to send your concentrate out on? There's various people all around New South Wales that can give you not only the ore sorter, but can give you a truck to drive down to Broken Hill so they can put the zinc and the silver into existing plants that, say, people like Perilia have got. They're looking for mill feed.
They are.
So, all of the New South Wales is one of the most organised, infrastructure-laden states just about in the world for a mining situation, and others have gone and done it. So why shouldn't we? It's as simple as that. You've got to have the commodity price. We've got that. You've got to have a water supply. We've got that. You've got to have roads. You've got to have power. You've got to have these. All of these things are sitting there. It's just ticking boxes. Sweat the brow. Get it to the next stage. Capability then comes in. Measure your capability. Right. Your finance should not be a problem. It's not a lot of money. Anything under $300 million is relatively easy in this market because there's an insatiable appetite by the Chinese to still invest. So if they see something, even if it's boutique, now the Chinese generally not get involved in a project like this unless they have a 50-year mine life. Well, you can't find many 50-year mine life gold or polymetallic deposits. The other thing is, of course, you've got a gold credit there. It's worth money. Gold's going great. When the project economics were done in 2012, the project economics are better by 30% now. So in 3 years' time, you don't want to be thinking and talking like this. In 3 years' time, you want to be spitting out a concentrate. That's what you've got to do. And it can be done. It's simply just a matter of want and do rather than arm wave and not do.
Right. You're a doer, not an arm waver.
I hope I can. I think today that's how mining companies have to think, and I think explorers have to understand what they're going to do, where the money's going to come from, and currently that's not the problem. The problem is, where do I find a drill rig? Where do I find geologists?
You mentioned.
How do I get access agreements?
You're bringing a drill rig over from Western Australia. Surely there's a rig over here in New South Wales, or is it a special one?
Look, West Australians invented reverse circulation in the mid-'80s, early 80s for the gold boom that happened. We're just inventing the same thing. We're just saying we can't get a rig, we can't get one that's suitable for the terrain in New South Wales, so we'll just bring one from Perth.
Right.
And we're going to sign a contract for 30,000 metres. Now, these are the premier companies in Australia, drilling companies in Australia. This particular company is about to do an IPO for $200 million. Right. It's putting money where your mouth is. If you look at what Western Australia has spent in exploration and just simple drilling costs versus New South Wales, it's staggering the difference. Now, it's drill power that's the difference. It's getting an approval, it's getting a drilling program, and it's drilling the bejesus out of it. That's our job as explorers.
But you don't want to drill. You don't want to drill the bejesus out of Kempfield. What you're saying is we only need to put in a certain number of.
Look, Kerry. We've de-risked Kempfield to the point where it's like flying to the moon with NASA. Not much is going to go wrong. Okay. But you still have to do 100 holes just to make sure you close the pattern. If you close the pattern, you get it to a reserve category, put your hand on your heart and say, right, now press the button. Now, at the same time, we're also going to do some clever IP downhole surveys to find the gold and copper, which is eluding us. I think there's a big gold copper deposit under Kempfield. I don't know where it is. Other people that have been mucking around there for 30 years don't know where it is. Shell Exploration didn't know where it was. Jones Mining didn't know where it was. Golden Cross didn't know where it was. Yeah. Well, I hope Argent knows where it is because we've got to find it. And if it's not there, then it won't be there. But, feeder zones and ore bodies, today, you can get an RC rig that can drill 700 metres, right? You can get a diamond rig to do it as well, but at half the cost. So punch a couple of holes in to find a feeder zone as you develop your mine, right?
Yeah.
So once you're mining, once you've, go and put a $50,000 hole in just to make sure you find the feeder zone. It doesn't matter. It's just more news. And you're just doing your job. But, in terms of a diverse explorer, Pine Ridge is an exciting gold mine. Pine Ridge gold mine, It was developed in the 1830s before mine records actually happened. We start drilling there again next week. It's our second campaign. Hasn't been drilled since the 1990s. It was then drilled by us in 2019. I've come along now and put the second program in. But the good news is we've got approvals now to do the third stage, which will be early next year as well. So 30,000 metres is part of that Kempfield Pine Ridge campaign. We've also got other projects we're going to drill. We got $255,000 from the New South Wales government to continue drilling at West Wyalong. West Wyalong starts in January. Again, a West Australian drill rig. Again, it's RC. Again, 2,500 metres at West Wyalong, 500-metre holes. Now, as soon as you say you're going to drill a 500-metre RC hole in New South Wales, people think you've got rocks in your head. Well, hopefully we do have rocks in the head, and hopefully they're metallic in nature. And the secret is, Kerry, we will go and put 500-metre holes at West Wyalong. We'll do the job in no time. You're paying top dollar, but you're getting top results. And you're getting in and out to go back and do the third stage of drilling. And this is what we'll be doing. And we're doing the same at Loch Lilly near Broken Hill, and then we're going to get on to Tasmania towards the back end of the year. We've also taken...
I actually wanted to bring up Tasmania because you have a really good understanding of Tasmania. And for those that don't know, Tasmania is very well endowed with minerals, isn't it? And you've got you got some projects, has Argent got some projects down there as well? They sitting on the back burner, or what are you doing with that?
Look, we had two Tasmanian geos born and bred in Tasmania. They had the foresight of pegging some ground along the Henty Fault, which nobody knew there was a fault there, but they certainly knew there was a fault, but they didn't know how deep it is. We did some really, really good geophysics we're about to release in coming weeks. We've gone left field, mucked around, listened to someone, disregarded what he had to say. The person persisted, kept knocking on the door during COVID, so go away, but he kept knocking on the door, showed us a couple of things that were intriguing. We've developed them now and spent $40,000 later over the last 3 months. We've spent no money in Tasmania at all for 5 years. All of a sudden, we picked up this Mount Farrell project. It's got the Henty gold mine on it. It was just off our tenement, but a lot of people have come forward. You've got West Australian companies that have put money into the ground down at the northwest end of Tassie. There's a small iron ore deposit that's coming along now and going into production right on the edge of one of our tenements. The polymetallics, the fact that an English company, NQ Minerals, has got some cobalt that they found in the tailings of the pyrite. Mount Lyell, Rosebery, Henty, these are all tied mines. But, it's the geophysics that's explaining the story there. And looking under the cover of these big forests and everything else that's associated with Tassie, I'm no Tassie expert, but I'm listening to experts, and it's very exciting. It's going to be the next hotspot in the world for exploration. Hopefully the Tasmanian government, Australian government can see the potential between miners, fishers and farmers all works together. Big story there. I mean, I'm serious. The amount of metals and minerals that can be found in the northwest end of Tassie that goes straight through Victoria, straight into past the Broken Hill and into the Mount Reid volcanics go a long way. And people don't understand it.
Is the state government supportive of mining down there at the moment? Because there was a bit of a challenge in the past.
Kerry, the secret is go to someone who's already there, working on the ground, and ask them. And if they're knocking on your door and you're knocking on theirs, people come forward and you talk to them. Can't name these companies yet, but these companies are knocking on our door saying, hey, listen, you guys know what you got. And we turn and say, we're working on a couple of things. And then these people are developing mines. They know what's going on. So, do you JV? Yes, you do. Do you get them to help you? Yes, you do. Are there wealthy, massive, structured organisations in Tasmania that want to see mining again on a large scale? Yes, there are. The Caterpillar agent, for instance, major shareholders in most of the explorers and miners in Tasmania. They want to see things happen. They control the rail and they control the earth-moving equipment. Of course they do. Tin, rare earths, rare metals. the story goes on in Tassie. To take cobalt out of tailings dams through pyrite collaboration studies, that's where science and geology and mineral recovery, all of these things start to turn Australia into the smart country again, right?
Well, that's what we want it to be, and we're running out of time, George, so I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
First of all, you've got this RC program coming up at Kempfield.
Yep.
You're going to be starting to really move on that. You're not wasting any time. If you were to give just a brief overview of timeline, what are you looking at for those that are listening right now?
Look, it's pedal to the metal. It's unprecedented times. You've got tenements, drill the bejesus out of them, drill the hell out of them. Get the money because the money's there. Use the money in the ground, don't mind the desk. Don't mind the desk, mind the ground. Explore the ground. There's no more Sir Lunchalots. We've got to make the mineral industry appealing to the Americans. That could be our new JV partners and offtake partners, and to the Chinese and the Koreans. They have this insatiable appetite for copper and for nickel, which are developing very quickly. Look at the platinum story and look at what an explorer like Chalice has done. How can they be $3.30 in $1 billion market cap? Similar to Pilbara Minerals, a smart company that has copped so much grief, but went from $1 million market cap to $2 billion market cap. They're sitting today at $1 billion market cap, and the lithium boom has not even started. Clean energy and Biden will put a different paradigm on what we do. The inventors like Tesla, he will go to space travel, but he needs metal to do it. How much silver? How much telluride? How much gold? All of these things are evolving in front of us. Take the mixture of young people, take the mixture of old people, put them together and explore and mine and develop new technology. That's what's going to happen. So
let me ask you a final question. Are you a shareholder again of Argent? You're putting your own skin in the game?
I am a shareholder of Argent, Kerry, and I'm so happy that Argent has some of the most wonderful, wealthy and boutique investors, new to market investors, but the well-heeled investors in Argent believe in Kempfield, so we must give them a return for their investment and put it in production or bring someone in that can. Secondly, these people are really smart people, and I welcome and thank the Sydney and Melbourne shareholders. We brought West Australian shareholders in. We've raised $5 million in 6 months. We've got close to $6 million in the bank.
Right.
But we have drilled our second campaign in less than 6 months, about to start our third. So drilling is winning, and that's where it ends up today. Right now it's drilling that wins. Drill to get a reserve at Kempfield and drill 3 projects to find gold or gold copper deposit. Simple as that.
You make it all sound very simple, and I certainly you've joined Argent at a very, very interesting time. I'm looking forward to seeing how you take this forward, and I'm sure the shareholders are very happy to be in your very capable hands. Thanks for joining us today, George.
Pleasure, Kerry.
Pleasure chatting.
Thank you.